Hi, everyone. Welcome. My name is Alysse Morton, and I'm a professor here at the Bill and Vive Gore School of Business. And today we're going to talk to you a little bit about our Business 101 class and tell you about some relationships we have with students from our business program. So I'm now going to share my screen. Okay, so I want to tell you a little bit about the people who are here today. Well, they'll introduce themselves, but my name is Alysse Morton, and like I said, I teach in the management area. My Ph.D. is in operations management, and I've been at Westminster. This is my 19th year here, and I really enjoy teaching in the learning communities is one of the classes that I teach.
All right, everyone. My name is David Perry. I am the Director of Academic Administration on campus. I work in the Provost office with the faculty, and I'm also a staff adjunct. So I teach one course a semester, and this is the course I happen to teach, Business 101A. So glad you're with us.
Hi, everyone. My name is Katie Webster. I'm a senior business management major here, and I'm from San Diego.
Hi, I'm Sarah. I am a Westminster alum. I graduated from Westminster College in December of 2019. I'm originally from Salt Lake City, Utah, but I'm currently living in the Keene, New Hampshire area, working as a corporate accountant at C&S Wholesale Grocers.
Okay, so now that you know who we are, I'm going to tell you a little bit about our Business 101 company, which is a part of our class. So we actually teach two classes in Business 101. There's Business 101A and Business 101B. The A class is taught, David's one of the people who teaches 101A, like he said, and I teach Business 101B, which is quantitative skills, and David teaches communication skills. And then we have a learning community where all the people that are in David's class are also in my class, and we form a company. And so we're going to tell you a little bit about how the company works in this class. So the first, The first thing we do is the students do a skills assessment to see what skills they have and where they think that they might want to operate within the company. The company as a whole comes together and says, who are we? What are we looking to do? What's our mission? What is our vision? And then the students are broken up into research groups. And in their product research groups, they're going to determine what products they think might be popular. They do market research. Students give a pitch presentation, which is one of the communication skills they learn in the 101A class. And then once they pitch the products, it says 4 products selected. It really depends on the number of students. For example, Katie's class had, I think 4 products, and Sarah had 5 products in her class. And then once the product is selected, you go and interview, and David's going to talk about this.
Yeah, so one of the things we talk about in Business 101A is interview skills. And actually this semester, the students just completed their interviews over the weekend. So we're right on par with that. So students are taught interviewing skills, and they do online interviews. And the fun part about these interviews is they are assessed by either faculty members or working professionals in the area. So for example, if a student decides that they want to interview for the Human Resources Division, we have staff members in our Human Resources department that will actually assess those interviews. So after the students do their interviews, they're placed in a division. And I'm curious to hear from Katie and Sarah, if you could just tell us really quick what division you interviewed for. Maybe Katie first.
So the 2 divisions that I interviewed for was for the HR position, and then I also interviewed for the project management one. Mine were a little interesting, so if that's something that seems a little daunting to you, trust me, you're not going to get worse than mine. But yeah, I ended up getting I was the head of the HR department at the end, and I got some really good feedback from my interviews.
Perfect. Sarah.
Yes, so I interviewed for both the product management operations as well as finance and accounting. I ended up doing the finance and accounting division, which was a lot of fun as I became an accountant. It was actually what helped me decide to make that shift to accounting. I declared after that semester. It was really fun to be able to kind of have real life experience of really knowing what accounting can look like. And yeah, really good experience.
That's perfect. So thank you both for that. So you heard from both of them that they actually ended up selecting a major that was close to the division that they ultimately interviewed and got the position with the company. So that's a fun opportunity for students to interview for a division they might be interested in, help them make that major decision, and get some feedback from some faculty members or staff members in those areas to help them with their interviewing skills. Once individuals are placed in a division, we move on to selling the goods, which is an opportunity for all of us to learn how to sell. Pre-COVID, we used to sell those items on campus. We're not doing that as much right now. We're working through websites right now to sell our product. But Katie and Sarah, again, really quick, Katie, do you want to talk about what product that you worked with?
There we go. Yeah, so the product that I got assigned to, we call them West Mini glasses, but basically they're just like little shot glasses. I don't know if you can see the clear one. But yeah, we were the first product group in Westminster to be able to sell these on campus. We got a new dean of the business college, and we were able to market them to him in a way to allow us to sell them. We call them West Mini glasses, and they did ultimately really well. We made a pretty large profit.
So I was a part of the blanket group. My semester, we originally had started with actually a different product, and unfortunately that product didn't really work out. So we were able to learn and kind of shift our focus to a different product, which was the blankets. It was actually a very good product. It ended up selling all of our inventory, which was awesome. We probably could have sold more than what we even ended up having, but due to ordering, we weren't able to make that time frame for the ordering. But yeah, blankets were a great hit and something that other semesters have also been able to do as well and benefit from.
Yeah, and I'll just show this shirt that I'm wearing right now is a kind of a golf shirt that customers were allowed to pick their color and pick their logos and whatnot, and it's a good exercise for the students to think about target market and who would ultimately buy the products. But lots of good products that we've sold over the years. So super quick, want to remind everybody that there is a chat function. So as you have questions, please feel free to go ahead and put those in the chat and turn it back over to Alysse.
Great. So after we sell the goods, the students will be evaluated. They'll evaluate their peers. They'll evaluate the people that worked in their divisions, maybe worked on the products with them, and then they'll also be evaluated by the faculty members. So we call that the 360-degree evaluation. And then hopefully, if sales go well, like they did for both Katie and Sarah's products, then we get to do a reward and students get a quote bonus. We don't actually pay out any money to the students, but we do take them on a fun activity. So Sarah, what was the activity that you guys did your semester?
Yeah, so our semester, we got to go to a local bowling alley called Fat Cats, where we all got to bowl together, which was a really fun experience because I was able to spend some time with some classmates that I didn't really get to spend a lot of time with because they weren't either in my division or my product where we work with most of the kids. And then we also went and had breakfast at a local restaurant called the Original Pancake House, which again was a really great bonding experience. It's really something that I cherished for my college career.
And how about you, Katie? What did you guys do?
So for my class's reward, we went to Top Golf. And what was really fun about that is, one, I was very heavily involved in that planning stage, being in the HR department. But it was really fun because, like Sarah was saying, you get to hang out with some of the students that aren't exactly inside your product group. Because when you're in class, it's pretty much you're like in your confined little groups, and then like you'll occasionally branch out. But so it was nice to like get to know everyone a little better. And then we also had a lot of fun bonding time with David and Alysse. Did a little gossiping with David, which was really fun. But yeah, it was a great time.
I do recall that Topgolf. What happened was David and I were going to work with your group, and then David signed in and he was the last person allowed. So I signed into the group next to them, which had like 2 golf team members on it. So I was like definitely out of my league, but it was still so much fun. We had a great time. And the other thing we do, actually, time-wise, the reward sometimes happens as the very last day. We also did a service project. And so, Katie, can you tell us a little bit about your service project that you did?
Yeah, so our service project was for the Utah Food Bank. So what we did was the day of our service project, we went and did a class Costco trip. So if you could imagine 27 college students just running around Costco with a whole bunch of shopping carts. But that was a lot of fun. And then we immediately took all of our goods over to the Utah Food Bank. And then there, just because of like protocol and the timing of everything, we weren't allowed to help like package anything, but we did. We were able to get a tour, and then of course give them all of the food that we got for them.
There was a small group, which you apparently weren't a part of because you don't.
Yeah.
But there's a small group that was able to do a little bit of sorting. David, I think David took the van back, which you must have been on. And then I think the van that I had stuck around and did a little bit of sorting that day. But you're right, they just didn't have the capacity. They had some other groups coming through due to holidays, and they just didn't have enough space for us to be able to do stuff. And Sarah, how about your group? What did you guys do for your service project?
Yeah, we went to the Utah Humane Society, and like Katie's group, we all got to go to a local pet store and pick out all the stuff we were going to donate. Again, it was a very fun experience running around a pet store, getting to see all the little pets they have there and buying stuff to go to the Humane Society. Then we went to the Humane Society and were able to clean the kennels for the dogs. There were a few dogs there that we were able to walk, as well as clean the cat rooms. And then we also were able to help them finish raking leaves before the snow came for the winter. So it was a really good experience to see all the hard work of selling the products go and benefit other things besides just our class getting to learn new things.
Great. So these are just a few of the nonprofit organizations that have benefited from our service project. So we can see both the Utah Food Bank and the Humane Society, and we've done other stuff at some of these other organizations. So David, do you want to talk through the timeline of kind of what the semester looks like?
Yeah, this is a quick timeline that you're going to see here. I think it's set up for fall semester, yes. So in August, the end of the month, right after school starts, as Alysse mentioned earlier, we have that conversation with the class about mission and vision. So the idea is ultimately, what is our company's mission and vision? Are we looking to simply make a profit? Are we looking to have an impact in the community? What might that be? And again, understanding that as we go through the timeline, the things that we're talking about in 101A and 101B are corresponding with company activities. So for example, in 101B here in August, you're going to see they're going to be talking through break-even analyses as they prepare for pitch presentations. Here we are in September, where the students actually deliver their pitch presentations and interview for those divisions that we talked about earlier. In October, we run the company. We develop our products, we sell them on campus, all while all 5 divisions are working together to make the company successful. That's 5 different divisions working in 5 different ways. And then it says we commence the service project by November. Product sales are happening. So again, however we're able to do that on campus in the environment. is how we do that. And then, as mentioned earlier, with the different service projects that we've done, we complete the service project at that time. So again, elements that you're learning in 101A and 101B are what you're seeing on the screen here. So pitch presentations and interviews are happening in 101A. So many elements happening in 101B, time value of money, break-even analyses, et cetera, to really help with that company piece. So then in December, we finally get together as a class. The last project is for each product to do a formal business presentation, which these two that are here did an excellent job with. Alysse and I still remember those. And we have our bonus celebration. So that's just kind of a timeline of how we walk through the semester.
So I thought it might be helpful to see just some examples. So this is the slides that I'm showing you now are the actual marketing materials that were created by the students in the class. And then I also added little flags that tell you how much profit they earned that semester. This is actually Sarah's semester when they worked at the Humane Society, and you can see the mink touch blanket that she worked on. Sarah, any thoughts to add about the products that your class sold, whether it was the blanket or something else?
Yeah, so the semester really kind of morphs, and as it morphs, you have to really learn how to think on your feet, which is something that really has benefited me going into the real business world. It's something I have to handle every day. Things don't always go as planned. So like I said, my blankets were originally actually supposed to be something else, and a couple weeks in, we then switched to the blankets, which ended up being very successful. And for another example, the travel cups, those had a few defects on them, so they weren't able to sell all their inventory, so they had to come up with other ways to cover their expenses. And other groups also pitched in to help every other team be successful. So it's a really cool team working and building experience for everyone involved, and really something that I had a great time doing.
Yeah, I still get requests for those t-shirts that we sold, and I was like, yeah, when you like them, you got to buy them that semester, because we don't, sell things every semester. So this is Katie's semester in fall of 2018. Katie, anything you want to add about the products other than the West, or you can talk about West Mini Glass still if you want.
Sorry, I don't think the screen's, there we go, now it switched over. So yeah, our products were super fun. Our most profitable one was the straws. I'm pretty sure they sold out in their inventory, but if they didn't, they got really close. And then, like I said earlier, our West Mini glasses were also super successful. The purple one that isn't pictured, but that one was really popular among the students, and then our clear one was a lot more popular among like staff and faculty. But going back to like what Sarah was saying, how like you kind of like help each other out in the class, the way sales work is you sell all the products. And since I didn't really, being in the HR rep, I didn't have a lot of like hands-on activity with our product, so I tried to like help out and sell as much as I could, and I had so much fun. I got to know my classmates a little better through that, and I got to meet not alumni, faculty through it. But yeah, ultimately we had a really successful semester with our products. The Bonnie bands did struggle a little bit, but we were able to pull through and get them into the black.
Great. So just a couple other semesters. This semester in spring, the camping mug was so successful, we ended up ordering more. The donuts were not so successful. We didn't really take into consideration that people had dining dollars and didn't feel the need to spend extra money on food. So the donuts didn't actually sell at $1.75 each, and I think we took a loss at first. I think the donut group ended up selling a lot of dozen of donuts to people to buy for like activities around campus and stuff like that in order to get to their profit. David, anything you want to add from the spring of 2019?
Nope.
And then this mug you will see again in a different format. So this is this past fall, and these camping mugs, the silicone straws, and the hats were actually products that the group of spring of 2020 pitched and ordered, and then COVID hit, so we couldn't sell any of the products due to the restrictions in COVID. We just weren't ready to pivot, and we weren't able to move anything online or anything. So the rest of the products are from 3 different sections that we had this fall. And as you can see, they were able to make $862 in profit, but really $1,015 in profit from the fall semester. And then we took a little bit of a loss on some of the items from last spring. I think it was the straws that put us in the hole a little bit. We couldn't really sell those off to anyone. But anyhow, sometimes when items don't sell, so for example, some of the camping mugs were purchased by the Honors College to give to their students as gifts. Admissions has purchased some of the thread wallets. So there's definitely ways in which some of the products can be used elsewhere on campus, and we typically, give them a good deal for purchasing our surplus inventory. We don't sell our products at a discount after the sale's over because we think that would negatively affect future students. So anyone coming to be in business, you're welcome. We won't set a stage where people wait to buy stuff once they're on sale, but we do sell them off to other departments. So that's the gist of the Business 101 class. The last thing I want to say before we let Katie and Sarah share their experiences is that it is a learning community. So the students, like I said, that take 101A and 101B, not only are they in the same classes as one another, but we also make sure to advise and get you ready for registration. We check in with you throughout the year, and we act as your mentors and advisors during your first year and possibly your second year until you declare your major. Katie and Sarah were both actually David's advisees until they declared their major, which Sarah told you she declared it soon after she took the class. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Katie to talk about her experience with Business 101.
So kind of how Alysse was saying it. So I was with the same 27 students for about 3 hours twice a week. So you really get to grow as a community. But there's been so much in that class that I still use today. In David's class, we learn a lot about business writing. And every time I write an email, resume, cover letter, I go back to things that I learned in that class. One of my, still to this day, one of my favorite memories was we were all sitting in class, and David, we stops what we're doing, and he talks to us, and he's like, "Are you guys just like scared to call us by our first names? Because you guys are so professional calling us Professor Perry and and Dr. Morton." And because we were so like geared on business writing, got to be formal, but we are a community, so that formalness does kind of disappear, and you don't really get that at a lot of colleges, which is one thing that I really like about Westminster. And then touching on Alysse's calculating class, the mathematics that we learned and like the formulas, they helped me in my math and modeling class. They helped in accounting and finance, and I still use so much that they've taught me. And it was just overall a really, really great experience, and it's one of my favorite classes still.
Great. Sarah, do you want to tell us about your experience with Business 101?
Yes. So I took Business 101 in the fall of 2017. So I was actually a sophomore. So it was kind of a cool experience being a sophomore in a class where there's mostly freshmen. I met a lot of kids that I probably otherwise wouldn't have met and grew very close to them. Like has been mentioned, it is really a community. When we say learning community, you're spending a lot of time with these kids in the classroom, and then outside of the classroom, especially once that semester's over, when you go into another class and you see some of those kids from your learning community, it's really kind of a sigh of relief because you've already built a relationship with them, and it's really kind of something special you have with them. You can kind of laugh about things that happen when selling a product, getting someone to do something goofy to market, or whatever it might be. You just have like an instant connection with all these kids you had the class with. And like Katie said, this class really does prepare you for real life, kind of working in a real company. It gives you that aspect of learning how to market products, learning how to do things that you won't do in normal classes. A lot of my friends went to bigger universities and schools where most of their professors really didn't know their names, where at Westminster, being in such a more intimate setting with smaller class sizes, you really get to know your professors. Like, I'd drop in and say hi to Alysse all the time, and she'd help me out figuring out what teachers to have and give me some words of encouragement when I was having a bad day or had a stressful finals week. And same goes for David. He was my advisor, and I'd go in and he'd help me figure out what classes to take, and he helped me finally make that decision to declare. And I'm confident I wouldn't be where I'm at if it wasn't for Business 101. I actually used HireVue for some of my interviews. That's the interview software that we use for the class to interview for your individual divisions. So that was a really cool experience, being able to have that already behind me. I knew what to expect. And then just overall, it really gives you a good understanding of how business should work. Whether you decide to go in business after the class or not, it's really something beneficial, and I think it's something everyone should experience.
Great. Maybe we should open up to some questions. Does anyone have any questions they'd like to ask us about Business 101, about Westminster in general, about experiences upon graduation for Sarah, who's an alum? So it looks like there's a question coming about how you pick the products. So could you guys talk a little bit about the process, like explain kind of the pitch, how it gets narrowed down, and how we ultimately determine what 4 products or 5 products get selected? And I don't know if Sarah or Katie, which one of you want to take that?
I can take that. So for my semester, what we do to come up with products is everyone is to kind of come up with something that they think they could sell, whether you want to market more towards the college students, whether you're kind of going more for faculty, if you're going for alumni, you can kind of decide what market you really want to go for. And so, for example, like my product, I ended up pitching individual portable chargers. And obviously that didn't get chosen, which, you know, only 5 products in my class got chosen. So it's not everyone's gets chosen, which is, you know, it works out. And so then once it comes down to after the interviews and you choose which division you want to be a part of, then that's when you get broken out into your products. So for my specific class, we got to choose based off whoever got a certain position. So like I got accounting, so I got to put in like my first pick, I wanted blankets. My second pick, I wanted socks. And then they go through Alysse and David and kind of put people with who they think they'd work well with. And the nice thing about this class too is it really teaches you how to work not only in a group of like-minded kids. Like I worked in the finance, so sometimes we'd work with the finance or the accounting kids, and we'd come up with ways we can figure out what data we want to look at and how we can change things based off what data we're looking at. Or other days we would work as a product. So we would talk as a blanket group and figure out, okay, our blankets aren't really selling. What can we do? Who can we market towards? How many do we need to sell this day to make our ends meet? So that's kind of the process of choosing the product and getting it sold and everything.
Great. It looks like there's a question about class size. Sarah was in a rather large class. I think there were 34 students in Sarah's class, and Katie had about 28. Class sizes range in about from about 15 to as much as 34. David, typically around 20 to 25 is where we sit with the Business 101 class.
Yep.
Any other questions? So another question, not by the group, but I'm gonna, so Sarah, Katie reminded me today that you were her peer mentor. You want to talk a little bit about being a peer mentor for the class?
Yes. So I was fortunate enough to have been asked by David and Alysse to act as a TA for the class, or a teacher's assistant, peer mentor. So as part of that, I would go into their class and kind of work with the kids individually, give them ideas of what I did that I think I should have not done, or things that we did that actually worked well for us, whether that's based off of where we ended up selling items, if we sold them in Shaw, in the cafeteria, how they did there, or if we tried selling in Bassis, the cafe, how they did there. So it was a really cool experience to be able to work with another class and section to help guide these kids in a way that I wish, I could have changed things, or ways that I thought really worked out well for me. But yeah, really good experience to work with these kids. It's something Westminster really gives you, is the ability to have a mentor and be able to be a mentor to other people as well. It's something that's helped me along my career path in the last year of being a college graduate. So something I've benefited from greatly.
So another question, once again, for Sarah and Katie. Katie, I'll have you start first. What skills have you gained in Business 101 that's translated to your future classes? So I know you talked a little bit about that before, but if you can think of any additional examples.
I gotta think, because there's a lot, and I'm trying to think if there's any that I may have missed. But the calculating stuff that you learn in Alysse's class, like time value of money, that one you see a couple times in your future business classes, in both the lower and the upper division ones. And then in David's class, like the communication stuff, that's stuff that doesn't matter like what field you go into, like you're going to be using it later on in your careers. And it's something that I've taken into the jobs that I've had and into my internships. And it's been super helpful, and it's like set me above. Yeah, there's just a lot of what you learn, pretty much everything you like transfer into the rest of the classes. And then from the product groups themselves, even though like you may not specifically be in that small division, but like you learn stuff from the financial side, for the accounting, you do a lot of marketing, selling, and all those little tiny components you'll use in those classes. Because the upper and lower, you'll take a marketing class, you'll take a finance class, you'll take accounting classes, and it's all just super helpful.
Sarah, how about you?
Yes, so to go with what Katie said, you're going to use a lot of that calculating stuff that Alysse teaches in her calculating class. That gets used a lot in your business modeling class that you'll end up taking. I noticed a lot of the kids that ended up taking Business 101 and all of my, especially entry business classes, definitely had an edge above the rest of the students in terms of we had exposure to a lot of things other kids otherwise wouldn't have. For example, in my business modeling and math class, a lot of the Business 101 kids already knew how to do a lot of the charts and the pivot tables that we were trying to do in the class because we had previously been taught them from Alysse. So that's definitely a bonus. Same with like time value of money, like Katie said. In finance classes, you'll use a finance calculator that Alysse teaches as well. And kids that are, again, in Business 101 always know how to use it right away. There's no issues there. And then, the kids that weren't in Business 101 because they can't figure out how to clear it out. And then with David's class, with the communicating, you end up using that resume. Like I used my resume I created in David's class to end up getting my job I have now, as well as the cover letter. So it really helps to have that kind of professional outlook of having an extra set of eyes that has been successful, both David and Alysse in their careers, that they're able to help you get to a place that they're in, and it's really a beneficial thing.
So there's a question here about what your favorite thing is about being in smaller classes.
I can touch on that one. So especially right now, because of the pandemic, the class sizes are even smaller. Last semester, my classes ranged from 5 students to 12. So not your typical university size. But even post-pandemic, when we had a cap of 25 students, like you just grow and you get to know everyone, and it's like an environment where you can tell your professors care about you and they're there to help and support you. And that's one thing that I really loved about Westminster, because I know that that kind of like relationship I can't get at like the University of Utah or Utah State. And it's something that you grow to really appreciate, and it's an asset. Like they help you through so much, like both inside the classroom and outside the classroom, and your professors are just like always there for you. So having the smaller class sizes is like a huge benefit from the professor standpoint. And then kind of like what Sarah was saying, how you have like your, you get to see your 101 classmates in other classes, and it's kind of a sigh of relief. It continues through your other classes because you get to know and work in small projects in your upper and low division classes and get to really know your peers.
I can also add on that one real fast on the smaller class sizes. When I was able to interview for my career, I was asked a lot of questions about class projects and things I learned in class. And I was always able to give a lot more examples of things that I did in school and things that I learned. Because I went to Westminster and the classes were smaller, I was able to learn that much more. You're not being held back by having 50 kids in your class trying to learn. You're able to move on from things a lot faster. You're able to have that kind of relationship with other students in your class where you do homework assignments together, and you kind of can have that collaboration effort that you really end up having in a real life job as well. So having a smaller class size is something that I benefited from personally, and I know a lot of my classmates did as well.
And I can speak to, as well as a faculty member, I teach operations. That's what my PhD is in. And Katie took my operations management class as well. And it definitely shifted this fall due to COVID. But the previous fall, when Katie was in my class, we took about 5 or 6 tours to local manufacturing facilities, and we got to see Coca-Cola get bottled and boxes get made. So there's a whole bunch of different things. I think we saw the candy company. It all blurs in my head. I do a bunch of different tours, but it's really nice with class sizes of 20 to 25 people. I can easily take people on these tours, and we literally get in a van and drive the students to the tour. So it's a lot of fun. And kind of like Katie and Sarah were saying, there's much more of a rapport with the faculty member with the smaller class sizes. We know who you are when we write you a letter of recommendation. We have a lot of things that we can say and talk with specific facts about you, rather than just she got to be in my class in the fall of 2010. So see if there's other So there's one question I asked for a clarification on. I can read it, but I'm not sure what the question, it just says, are we selling data entry services, resumes, job applications, applications to schools? Not sure what. So if someone could clarify what they're asking me, I'm more than happy to answer. In the meantime, I will tell you something we haven't really spent time talking about is that we do extensive market research, and we typically get a large number of responses from the Westminster community. People look forward to see the annual market research survey to see what people are going to be selling. They kind of get excited to see, oh, what are you selling this semester? And the very first semester we ever sold this, there was a student that was pitching a sock, and it was one of the products that we were going to sell. And he was so insistent that the athletic sock was going to be the most popular. And a lot of times the students really believe that what they think is like the law, like this is what it is. And so when you do market research, you can show the students, like, as popular as you think the athletic sock is, it actually turns out the dress sock is more popular. And not only is it more popular with faculty and staff, it's more popular with students. And so we ended up selling a dress sock, and the student left the sock because that was the product we picked, because we had to pick the socks really early in order to order them. The student interviewed and ended up being on a different product. He sold hats that semester instead of, and it worked out great. He was happy. The sock group was really happy. I think the sock made a ton of money that semester, if I remember correctly. So it was all good. David, any other thoughts on class or student opportunities at Westminster?
No, I think that covers it. I'm teaching this semester right now, and we're right in that key phase of the class of determining which products to sell. And that market research survey that you talk about is going to go out tomorrow. So it's going to be really fun to see, you know, if what we think the public's interested in, if they're actually interested in it. And it's always fun at the end of the semester to say, we think that the older folks are going to want the clear shot glass, that West Mini glass that Katie showed earlier, and younger students are going to want the purple West Mini glass. And it's always fun to look at that data to see if that's what happened in the class. So that's all a part of the learning process, and that's a good piece to it. And, you know, as it relates to the learning community, what I love about it is that faculty members in the teaching and learning communities are the advisors for the students until they declare their major. And why that's so important in business is you have business faculty that are your advisors until you make that decision. So you're not going to a big advising office and talking to somebody that you don't know. You know, you're talking to somebody who's teaching in the program and really has your best interest at heart in terms of, you know, making sure that we completely talk through what ultimately major you're interested in and make sure we get you on the right track. So I love that part about the learning community, is just getting to work with the students until they declare.
Okay, if there aren't any other questions, why don't we talk a little bit about what happens if you don't know either which business major you want to be in, or if you don't even know what you want to major in. Any advice to the students that would be looking to come to Westminster?
So going to Westminster, I wasn't sure if I was going to do exactly what I was going to do. I had kind of thought, you know, elementary education sounded fun. I had done an early childhood development class in high school that really kind of propelled my interest in that. I liked working with kids. It's a rewarding thing. And then the other thing I was considering was accounting. I had also done a business academy at my high school in Salt Lake that had gotten me some kind of preview of what accounting was like. It was something that came easier to me. It made sense, and it was something I enjoyed doing. So like I said, I took Business 101 the fall of my sophomore year, which I'm glad I did, because like I said, that's ultimately what made me decide that I wanted to do accounting, that I wanted to do business. So for any kid that's not sure what you want to do, not sure which path you want to take, I would recommend taking this class because it will kind of give you those little tidbits of what, you know, business is like, whether you want to do accounting or if you want to do HR or if you don't even want to do business. It will be a good way of figuring out that without going through the pain of everything else, taking a bunch of classes that you end up deciding you don't like. It's just a very good introductory class to take.
Great. Well, I want to thank you for coming today. I don't see any additional questions. So please feel free to reach out to me or David as the faculty members of Business 101. We are on the Westminster website. We're happy to answer any questions that you may have about our program. We have a really wonderful program where the students perform internships as a requirement of their major, and so they get some great real world experience while they're in the program here. You really can't go wrong. There's a lot of wonderful programs here at Westminster, even outside the business. I know that everyone here today might not be interested in business per se, but there's this much passion and excitement about any major here at Westminster when you talk to the faculty and the relationships that they have with their students.